Continuing its role as a battleground state, Wisconsin drawing in big presidential campaign visits. Plus, Universities of Wisconsin now has millions in funding to work with. CBS 58's Emily Fannin, WisPolitics editor J.R. Ross break it all down in tonight's Capital Connection.
We begin this week with a big funding boost to the Universities of Wisconsin after they received $32 million, which is earmarked to spend on the workforce. Now, they were able to get this money back after the Joint Finance Committee released the funds, which was part of a much broader deal that Assembly Speaker Robin Vos and the university system made to curtail diversity, equity, inclusion efforts. So now that they have this money, JR, that's what we're going to talk about, because this $32 million, it will be dispersed across many campuses. Milwaukee and Madison will see the biggest chunk of change, but it's all in order to help boost the workforce, essentially in high demand areas. We're talking about engineering, healthcare, computer science, business.
Yeah, so big picture, $5 million each roughly for Milwaukee, Madison, $2 million each for the rest of the campuses. At Milwaukee, for example, about a third of that money go to engineering. They're projecting 1,200 more graduates at Milwaukee alone over a 5-year period. So this is a boost. This is also an example of what's been happening in Capitol a lot in recent years, where Republicans control the legislature. They have a Democrat in the governor's office. They want assurances the money's spent the way they want it spent. So they keep telling these entities like the Universities of Wisconsin, okay, we're going to earmark this money in the budget for you, but until you show us exactly how you're going to spend it, like down to kind of the granular level, we're not giving it to you. They also use this money as part of that, almost like a hostage essentially, in this DEI deal, saying, well, we're not going to give this money to you or the raises or other things until you come through with what we want to see. It also opens the door down the line to more pressure from the legislature to other agencies in the university of, okay, we don't like A, B, or C, you must do D, E, and F or you get your money.
Right, and it's a tactic that they've used before too, that we're seeing right now with PFAS contamination. There's about $125 million just sitting in the budget committee. They're not acting on it, and the big problem there is that lawmakers just can't agree on how to best to spend it. All right, moving on to our next topic is talking about what's called the Monday processing bill. And this bill would allow clerks to start opening ballots, checking for missing information on absentee ballots, and process them the day before an election. Why is this important? Because in general, many people believe this would help speed up election results. And this is specifically very important to Milwaukee, given looking back at past elections. The big one, of course, was 2020, when they were still counting ballots up until about 3 a.m. And the conspiracies that we heard from Donald Trump and some conservatives was that, oh, these are big ballot dumps because they did shift the results in Biden's favor. Well, when you look at it, more Democrats voted absentee, and that was the reason why. We're talking about this issue because it's bipartisan. It passed the Assembly. There is still no action in the Senate, and there's a lot of factors as to why.
So a couple big ones are, there's a faction in the Republican Party that is convinced that if you do this, you'd open the door to fraud, that unscrupulous clerks would start telling Democrats, look, this ward over here, it's underperforming, you better get over there and start turning out votes, or even that they start counting the ballots and leak out the results, which you couldn't do in the bill. You could not start counting ballots. There's that problem. The second one is there are Republicans who believe it's good policy, but when they go back home to their districts, they are getting grief about this bill because their constituents, very vocal ones, have bought into the notion of this is going to open the door to fraud. They're going, I don't want to deal with the blowback, essentially. So while I may think it's good policy, it's not good politics for me to worry about that, maybe even a primary this August because I supported a bill to help Milwaukee. Why can't Milwaukee get stuff in order and just do it on its own? Now, looking ahead, talking to Milwaukee election officials, they're expecting fewer absentee ballots than in 2020, probably about 100,000. They're hoping to be done by midnight. But one thing to keep in mind, the later you go, the more fodder you give for the conspiracy theorists to say something's amiss. Looking at the last several elections, the absentee ballots out of Central Count Milwaukee have gone 80% to the Democrat or the liberal on the ballot. So fast forward to 2024, there are 100,000 ballots, probably 80,000 the Democrat, 15 to 20 for the Republican. That's going to be a shift of like 60-some thousand votes. What are they going to say? Right. If it comes at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock versus 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. That's the issue.
And we also have plenty of Republicans and Democrats that think, like you said, this is good policy because they believe it would help actually boost election integrity to start kind of toning down that rhetoric that this would lead, potentially fraud, which is not true, like we said. All right, now let's look ahead to next week because the headline really is the Biden administration is barnstorming the battleground state. We had the First Lady in Waukesha on Sunday, and then on Wednesday, Vice President Kamala Harris will be back here in Wisconsin in Madison. She recently held an event on reproductive rights in Milwaukee in January. So once again, just making a presence known, but looking, okay, where is former President Donald Trump? When is he going to come to the state? Well, of course, he's leading in the polls, so it's not, a rush to get here, but we could probably expect that closer to April's primary.
He's looking for that knockout punch with Nikki Haley. Some parties already thrown it, that there's not really a path for her to win the GOP nomination. But Super Tuesday comes up in March, a bunch of states. We don't get there to April 2nd, so there's some time. The real focus here is going to be in October, November. I mean, we are one of 3, 4, 5 states that really matter come this fall. And let's face it, if Joe Biden's not winning Wisconsin, probably not win the White House again this fall.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us this week.